Well, good evening, friends. Let's go ahead and get started with our virtual family engagement session tonight. Thank you for being here on this Tuesday. We appreciate that you're here. As you came in from the waiting room, you may have noticed that your microphone was turned off. That's just so we can hear our presenters, but I still want to hear from you. I see folks are already using the chat. Make sure you're putting your thoughts, your questions, those things that you're thinking about in the chat. We'll be watching that, and we always make sure to capture the chat and use that for future sessions. I also appreciate, I see some folks have their video on. That's always great. I love seeing everybody, but I also know that you might be trying to get a couple of other things accomplished at this hour, or maybe it slows down your computer. So that's okay. You can leave your video off. But for those of you that have it on, thank you. I appreciate seeing everybody. Well, again, welcome to our virtual family engagement session tonight. My name is Scott Varner, and I'm the Executive Director of Family Engagement here in Columbus City Schools, where this year, if you've been with any of our sessions, you know this is the year that we are all in. All of our teachers, our staff, our principals, our district leaders, all working together to give our young people every opportunity at success. We want you to be all in too, and that's why we make sure that our families are engaged, that we engage our community partners to make sure that we're all working together to support our young people and to support our families. So let me first take a moment to say thank you to our family ambassadors who are with us tonight. You are working to share great information with our families. I know that you are all in. So family ambassadors, make sure you're sharing which school you're at in the chat. And also thank you to our bilingual engagement liaisons, our partners at ETSS, to make sure that all of our families, no matter what language is spoken at home, are a part of this great conversation. Throughout the session tonight, I might ask for your help on different things. And of course, the first thing I always ask for help on is helping us with a exercising of a bit of grace. And those are just our meeting norms. I just mean by that first we're going to give everyone the opportunity to share their opinion. That's why that chat is so important. We're going to try to remain positive. Boy, I know this has been a stressful school year, a stressful time, stressful across our world right now. I appreciate that you come to these sessions and help us maintain a very positive, constructive conversation. Thank you for that. Hey, we'll acknowledge if we don't have an answer. You might ask a question tonight about maybe a different topic or something that we don't have an answer for. If that's the case, if there's something that you don't get an answer to, or maybe you think of a question later, you can always email me. The address is at the bottom of the screen, that engage@columbus.k12.oh.us. Email that. That's also the email address you received tonight's Zoom link. So just hit reply and ask your question there. We're going to be considerate and respectful of your time. I appreciate we started just a couple of minutes late to give a few more people an opportunity to join in the conversation, but we'll definitely be done by 7 o'clock. We know your time tonight is valuable. And finally, that last point, always so important to remember, we recognize that it's every one of us working together, that we're all in this together, and we appreciate you being here. Another favor I'm going to ask of you is to keep checking the Columbus City Schools website on a regular basis. We're updating that website every day with new information about what's going on in the district. You know, when you think about it, we are just 6.5 weeks away from spring break. The calendar is one of those things that you can get updates on from our website. But every day we're putting new information, updated news stories about our community partners, what's going on in our school district, maybe answers to some of the questions that you have, everything from remote learning to the school choice lottery. You can find it on our website. So I encourage you, try to check out the website whenever you have an opportunity. Some of the things that you'll find on the website right now is a reminder about our Pathway Express. I see there's a typo on that screen. It should say the March Pathway Express is going to be at the North Market. What's that mean? So every Saturday and Sunday this month, CCS families who visit the North Market will have some special offers that they can pick up, including some free coupons, some free gift cards to some of the vendors at the North Market while supplies last. So if you joined us at COSI in January, or maybe the Art Museum in February, Now's the next stop on the Pathway Express. In March, it's the North Market downtown. So make sure you go visit the North Market Saturdays and Sundays. Let them know that you're from Columbus City Schools, and there will be some special offers for you. Another thing to think about, we are now starting to think about summer. And every Thursday this month, our virtual family engagement sessions will be devoted to our summer opportunity and engagement sessions. That is, looking at the different maybe summer camps or clubs or just free activities that are open to Columbus students during the summer. We're going to have many of our partners on sharing information. So every Thursday this month, you can join our virtual family engagement session and hear about those great summer opportunities. You might have even just gotten an email earlier this afternoon on ways you can RSVP for that. But just go back to that RSVP page on our website, sign up, and hear about all of the great summer opportunities for our students, including the summer experience at our schools. One more thing on the website, if you get an opportunity, is to look at the new 5-year strategic plan that our superintendent rolled out. We're calling it the Power of One, a reminder that as we come together as one community, there's that great power to support our students and work on their success together as one. So I really hope that you'll take an opportunity to go to our website. You can just put /Power of One, and you'll be able to read about the strategic plan and our new portrait of a graduate for our students, that guiding post about where we want to be as a district and what we want to see our scholars achieve in. Now, to get there means that we need to be all in and be able to support our families and engage our partners. And that's what brought us here tonight, is engaging one of our great partners, the Buckeye Ranch, to give us some tools and strategies for working with our teens, and especially thinking about the young women in our middle and high schools. We know that anxiety is a part of growing up for every teenager, but studies have shown that high anxiety cases often start to arise in girls as they rise into their teens. And so we asked the social emotional experts at the Buckeye Ranch to share with us some tips and strategies on how we help our teens really cope through these times. And so I am so excited to have Dr. Andrea Weisberger from the Buckeye Ranch with us tonight, and her colleague, Tracy Anderson, both here to really share some great tips and tools and strategies our families can use. So Dr. Weisberger, I'll turn it over to you to welcome everybody and begin this great conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Varner. I appreciate you. And we're so happy to be here. Give me one moment so I can share my screen and get the slideshow started. You'd think I'd be a little faster at it at this point in the pandemic, but sometimes technology goes a little slower than we'd like. Hopefully it's up. Mr. Varner, is it up?
It looks good. Looks good.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Yes, well, as Mr. Varner said, my name is Dr. Andrea Weisberger, and myself and my colleague Tracy Anderson are here from the Buckeye Ranch to provide some information to you. So what we'll be talking about is social emotional skills, adolescent girls, and decision making. You know, reducing stress for all of our teens is extremely important and very helpful when it comes down to decision making. So we're less impulsive, we're able to make better decisions when we're de-escalated, when our emotions are regulated. Throughout this evening, as Mr. Varner said, we will be discussing girls. However, I want to point out this works for all of our children, both our boys and our non-binary children. So I wanted to give kind of that shout out that these are skills that not only work with our adolescent girls, but all of our teens. I would also like to point out that these are skills that are borrowed from what's called dialectical behavioral therapy, which is the modality that we use at the Buckeye Ranch in our school-based program. So we'll talk about all of that and what that means in a few minutes, but first let's introduce ourselves. So as I said, my name is Dr. Andrea Weisberger, and I am a counseling supervisor, and also registered play therapist. And I've been a school-based clinician for a long time, but I more recently joined the Buckeye Ranch as the school-based liaison. Basically what that means is I supervise the school-based team. at the ranch. We're partnered with schools in 4 different districts around Columbus area, and we provide individual, group, family therapy in all the schools, as well as or teacher consultations and teacher trainings. So that's a little bit about myself, and I'm gonna hand it over to Tracy so that she can introduce herself.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Tracy Anderson, and I'm currently working in the Indianola Informal K-8 school and also Columbus Alternative High School. And my background's in dance movement therapy, which is involving a lot of the nonverbal, what's going on, how can we help people in general be more self-aware. So I'm currently happy to be in the Columbus City Schools and working with our teens and families and teachers and all the staff. So thank you.
Yes, I will say we love our partnership with Columbus City Schools. And in our time working and being partnered with the schools in your district, we've already felt so welcomed and so appreciated. I know Tracy feels that for sure at both of her schools, that people, all of the staff members, teachers, children, families, everyone appreciates her being there. So yeah. All right, so tonight, this is kind of what we're going to discuss. First, we're going to talk about what's dialectical behavioral therapy. What's that modality? I always say it's a big fancy word for something that's actually pretty simple. So we'll go over that and talk about what that means. We're going to also talk about the benefits of DBT skills and discuss why we chose it as a modality for our school-based program. It has a long history of working well with emotional regulation, all different types of skills, as you can see here. The DBT skills that we highlight are mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So we're going to talk about each one of those skills individually. We're going to talk about how that skill will benefit your children, and also ways that you can integrate each of those skills in your home. So first, let's talk about what dialectical behavioral therapy is. Basically, it's the idea that there are always different ways to look at any situation. So on the right here, you can see it's a very classic illusion. Some people, when you look at it, you might notice, oh, it's a duck, picture of a duck. You could look at it a million times and say, oh, that's a duck. But all of a sudden, one day you see this picture for the first time in a long time, and you go, oh, wait, it's a rabbit. I swore it used to be a duck. Look at that, it's a rabbit. And maybe even gotten into arguments with other people about what you actually see. So I love the classic, the dress meme or the dress conflict that happened many years ago, where half of us were like, oh my gosh, that's a blue and black dress, swore up and down, we knew it. Well, then people came in and said, no, that is a white and gold dress. What are you talking about? And if you're anything like my home, there are some heated discussions about it and some maybe questioning about what other family members or your friends maybe learned in primary school about what colors are, right? And it made some heated debate. Dialectical behavioral therapy is the idea that maybe both can be true. Are any of us actually wrong? Maybe looking at it from a certain perspective or taking a different viewpoint will show you that both can be true. So with that being said, I want to point out the importance of the word and. So myself as a parent as well, I cannot tell you how many times I have said out loud and am guilty of saying, I love you, but. It's kind of inherent sometimes in what we say as parents, I love you, but knock it off, you're driving me bonkers. Or I love you, but you're being ridiculous right now. Or I love you, but why did you create such a mess in the kitchen? Changing the word but to an and can very quickly change our message. Any positive statement that we make that's followed by a but is going to automatically turn that entire sentence into a negative and completely negate what was said earlier. And it really takes away from from the message that we were trying to provide, which is, I love you, and can you change this behavior? Or I love you, and can we work on this to make sure it doesn't happen again? Which is really what we're saying. However, when we use the word but, we're taking away the I love you, the important part of the message. So changing that but to an and can show that both things can be true. I love you and your behavior was totally inappropriate. I love you and you need to improve your grades so that you can have a great future. Those kinds of things. You'll hear yourself saying it now that I've pointed it out. You're going to notice a whole lot of different times that you say the word but, when a simple changing it to an and will make the message much more powerful and provide that dichotomy between what could be true, what could not be, opens up possibilities. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the DBT skills. So, one thing I've pointed out is that powerful word and. So there are some other really wonderful benefits and powerful things that we can use DBT for. For one, it really helps to regulate emotions. Obviously, like I said, tonight we're talking about teens. However, these skills can be used all across the lifespan. They can be, originally they were used for adults. They've been modified for teens, and now they're even modifying it for younger children as well. So you can really use all of this type of stuff, not just with the teens in your home, but the younger children as well, and maybe some of the adults who would benefit from these skills as well. We're also, one of the other benefits are problem solving, decision making, which is a big part of what we're talking about today, how all of these skills can help improve decision making, especially when dysregulated. They can also improve relationships. I don't think there's a parent out there that would say that they don't want to improve their relationship with their child. There's always something that can be better, that we would like to enhance with our relationship with our children. And then the last one is just enhancing our lives, making it better. One of the biggest taglines of dialectical behavioral therapy is building a life worth living. Building something where you're like, all right, I want to be here. Dialectical behavioral therapy is a very popular theory to use and therapeutic technique to use with people who are struggling with thoughts of suicide and struggling with self-harm. And so a big part of dialectical behavioral therapy is being able to help them to build this life that's worth living, that they want to stay in. As I previously said, we're going to talk about the 4 different DBT skills. So we're going to talk about mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. And then with each skill that we do teach you, we're going to talk about that concept. What does that mean? What is that all about? We're going to teach you a skill. We will then give you an activity to do at home with your teen, child, partner, whomever is there in the house, and then how this skill will be able to benefit your child and help with decision making. So let's move on to the first one. We call this the building block of DBT, mindfulness. They talk a lot about living mindfully, not mindlessly, being able to be aware of things that are going on around you. Mindfulness is the building block of DBT because if a person is having a hard time, if they're not even aware that they're doing a behavior, they're going to have a really hard time changing that behavior. So we want to build mindfulness skills in our children and in ourselves so that we can be more aware of what's going on for us, so that then we can say, ooh, okay, let me take a better look at this. Let me really pay attention to my feelings that are going on inside, because then I'm going to be able to make a better decision with that information. So the skill we're going to talk about here is the skill of wise mind. So as you can see here, we have both our emotional mind and our reasonable mind. And when we use those two things together, we make the wise mind, and we can use our wise mind. We often assume, an incorrect assumption, that teen girls are acting only with their emotional mind. That's just kind of unfortunately, a stereotype that we use to describe teen girls. They're all emotions, unreasonable, all of those kinds of things. And that's just simply not true. If you have ever sat down with a teenage girl, a young lady, while they're discussing a negative interaction that happens between themselves and maybe another teenager, they can analyze every single little bit and reason through exactly what happened from beginning to end, historical information, as well as future consequences of any social interaction that they have. They have a really beautiful ability to do that. And they're using their reasonable mind in those moments. And it's a really great skill that they already naturally have. The goal, however, of wise mind is to use both our emotional mind and our reasonable mind. Join those together, to marry them together so that we can make wiser decisions and be more mindful. This is kind of where our wisdom is going to reside. The choices that we make should reflect both of these sides. Let's all be honest. How many times have we looked at an adolescent girl and told them to be reasonable? Don't get emotional. You're being dramatic. These are really, unfortunately, common things that we say to our teen girls, and it really shuts down this emotional mind that is so important to be able to make wise decisions. So if we encourage our adolescent girls to completely ignore this emotional mind, we're really robbing them of this opportunity to use that wise mind. So encouraging both of those things together to be able to help them make wise choices. Let's talk a little bit about how this is going to benefit your child. I talked a tad bit before, but what I really want to pay attention to is how this mindfulness encourages attention to feelings, even the uncomfortable ones. Being sad, mad, uncomfortable, uneasy, all these words here on this sign, they don't feel good. They're not pleasant. We don't like them. Oftentimes we push them away and we don't want to attend to them because they just don't feel good. However, BBT teaches us to be mindful of those feelings and to kind of sit with them for a second, because really those feelings are going to be a signal to us that something's not right. So when our teen girls, or really any teen for that matter, understand how they're feeling, they can better respond to what's going on. Mindfulness teaches them not to push away those feelings, but to sit with that feeling, to really pay attention. So when a young lady, let's say an example, is in a negative social situation, and kind of getting that feeling, that understanding, ooh, this doesn't feel right, they won't as easily push that feeling away, and it will actually encourage them to speak up. Think about this scenario, like a young lady is with a group of friends in that social situation, and maybe their friends start doing something that she doesn't agree with. There is a possibility in her mind to use that reasonable mind. Well, they're my friends. They have my best interests in mind. There's a possibility that they'll leave me. We won't be friends anymore if I don't go along with it. That's their reasonable mind working, right? Trying to figure out what they should do in this situation, and these different thoughts that might be going through their head. However, on the other side of it, that emotional mind, she's feeling very uncomfortable. Should she ignore that emotional mind? Absolutely not. The discomfort that she's feeling in that moment is a signal that something is wrong. So then she can merge both of those things together to use her wise mind to make a better choice for herself. So here's a way for you to be able to try this at home and to use this skill with anyone in your home. When you see your adolescent, or anyone for that matter, struggling with a decision, help them to identify both the emotion and the reasoning. Try to use those and statements like we were talking about instead of but, using and be able to help them talk through it. This is a little different from a pros and cons list. We might be very used to a pros and cons list, which honestly usually just uses that reasonable mind, right? It's what are the good things about this? What are the bad things about it? Wise mind's different from that. This is a feelings and thoughts list. Think of it that way. How you feel about the situation, and then maybe what you think about the situation. Help them talk through these two things with no judgment and with openness. That's what we want to do, to encourage our teens to talk to us, is to be non-judgmental and open. And don't forget, like I said, about those ands instead of buts. You're frustrated about having to do this large project, and it's important for your grades. You're angry with your friends, and you really understand where they're coming from. So being able to have that dialectic thought process behind it. As we move on to distress tolerance, which is our second DBT skill, distress tolerance teaches us how to bearing pain skillfully. As we've heard kind of that famous quote, life is pain and anyone who tells you differently is selling something. We all experience pain at different times in our life. Some people experience very significant pain. Some pain is short term, some pain is ongoing. What we try to do with distress tolerance is teaching and learning how to manage those difficult moments and seeing that as an important skill for everyone, whether they're in crisis or struggling for something long term, because they can better live, like we talked about, being able to build a life worth living. They'll be able to understand, okay, going through this pain right now, but you know what, I can tolerate it. And it's a kind of like this bridge to emotional regulation. Some things we can't change, and some pain is just kind of inevitable. How can we build up our tolerance? And instead of spiraling into those depths of emotional dysregulation, we can learn to manage our emotions. And as we'll see later on, not make the situation worse by maybe an impulsive act or becoming so dysregulated we can't make good decisions for ourselves, even within the pain. So the skill that I'm going to teach you today about distress tolerance is these self-soothe skills. This, I can't tell you how many times I've used this skill, and it's worked beautifully with different people. I even use it not just in therapeutic work, but I have used it when I see people have panic attacks in public, people I don't even know, and using different techniques of self-soothe skills to help them to regulate their emotions and be able to work through it. As you can see here, it has everything to do with the five senses, including movement, which I know is Tracy's favorite thing. Like she said, dance and movement, and using that to regulate. So first is smell, touch, then hearing, taste, and movement. And using these five senses, these five different actions, to be able to self-soothe in different moments when we're having a really painful event going on. So let's talk about how this benefits your child. The better your teen can tolerate stress, the less likely they are to act on impulses that are going to make the situation worse. So as we've all seen, I'm sure we've all seen it. Someone is so dysregulated and so upset that I say it's like they're seeing red. They can't see anything other than just their anger, their dysregulation, being upset, sad, furious, all of those different things. There's no what am I looking for? There's just no reasoning. We know, after studying brains for as long as we have, we understand that when our limbic system is just firing, all different things are going on for us inside our brains. We're dysregulated. Our logic and reasoning skills go completely out the window. And so a part of distress tolerance is not getting to that point. Let's not get to this point of being completely out of control, so that then that way we can make better decisions and we don't act on impulse. The way to work on distress tolerance at home, I think this is one of my favorite skills, if I'm being honest, making self-soothe kits. The reason I think this is one of my favorite activities is because it's a relationship thing that you guys can do together. The idea of getting different items and putting them together as a way to be able to take care of yourself is a really powerful activity to do with your child. So as you can see, there are two different self-soothe kits here. One's really large and has a lot of different things in it, and the other one is literally a jar. That's all you need, just a jar full of different things. And you can see within these two different self-soothe kits, you can see they attend to those five senses, including movement. And so let's see here, I think in the one on the left, there's rosemary to smell, cinnamon stick. There's also taste. So you have a couple of Jolly Ranchers and pieces of candy. You also have a rubber band. So being able to stretch that, that's the movement piece, but also touch. So being able to put it maybe around your hand, give it a few snaps so that you can feel that sensation and be able to know, okay, soothing through that action. Then the one on the left, which is a little bit more of a larger self-soothe kit, which is awesome as well. You have in there snacks. So we have chewy bars, things that to help you have that taste sensation. There's things like lotion, so that touch as well as movement. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have lotion in almost every single bag. My hands get dry during the winter, but also it's just a very soothing thing to do in the middle of a stressful day, to kind of sit there, rub your hands together, put some lotion on, and be able to have that sensation to help soothe you a little bit. There's tea in there. There's different activities that might take your mind off of things. And then one of my favorite things down there, you might not be able to see it, are bubbles. Actually, I have bubbles right here on my desk. As I said, I'm a play therapist, so I have some very strange things on my desk, that I use for different activities right now virtually with clients and those kinds of things. So all of these different items would be perfect for self-soothe kits. Ask your team what would be best for them, what would help them to be able to soothe themselves in the middle of complete pain or dysregulation. I check my time. All right, I'm doing okay on time. As Mr. Varner said, we promised to get you out of here by 7, and we're actually doing okay. Sometimes I can be long-winded. All right, let's talk about the next skill, which is emotion regulation. There are obviously many different ways to regulate emotions through DBT. Tracy and myself have gone through a DBT training, 2 days in one of the trainings, 3 days in the other, and we have only done the tip of the iceberg with CBT and learning all of the different things that you can do within that theory and within that framework. However, it was very hard for me to pick one skill, but I did do it because I wanted to make sure I at least gave you guys something, but just know that there are lots of different ways out there. We would obviously need tons of time to be able to go over all of them. So I would just really, what I wanted to do was focus on how many of our emotions are impacted by perception that maybe might not match reality. So thinking about when we get really, really upset, knowing, okay, am I upset? This is honestly the one I'm most guilty of. Am I actually upset that that person cut me off in traffic? Because that doesn't usually bother me. I'm like, all right, they might be busy, they might be going on their way. That's usually something that rolls off my back. But every once in a while, I do get really upset about it, and I have to do a check within myself of, why am I so angry? What's going on here? Usually I'm hungry, right? So, but I have to really test my reality and my perception as well. Did that person do that on purpose to me just to make me mad? No, they're probably just trying to get on their way, and maybe they're late for something. Maybe they have an emergency. They're trying to get home. So trying to see and test that reality. Was it really about me? No, probably about what's going on with them in that moment. A really good example that oftentimes I talk about with our adolescent girls is often because of the way they're socialized, they tend to be very, very self-conscious about the way that they look. Images of what they should look like, ideal body, all of those different kinds of things that are constantly put into their heads by society really impact the way that they feel about themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of times not in a good way. So let's say, for example, your teen is at a restaurant with you and their family, and then at the other table, there's another group of young ladies sitting there laughing and talking, maybe whispering to each other, whatever, because that's a lot of times how we socialize in public, is we talk with one another, we're laughing, having a good time, and sometimes we whisper when we don't want other people to hear our conversations. However, for a teen who's feeling self-conscious about themselves, they are going to possibly perceive that the people at the other table are laughing at them, are whispering about them, or thinking negatively about them, and that might just not at all be the case. So the following technique is going to help teens to be able to change that perception of an event, to help them to better regulate their emotions and be able to kind of test that reality for them. I really like this testing and talking about perception. So the skill that we're going to talk about is called check the facts. So it's a way of being able to look through all of the facts of a situation and see, okay, is this reality or is it not? All right, got a little notification. There we go. I really enjoy this though, because if you see all of these different people in this cartoon are looking at the exact same thing. We ourselves can see it with our eyes that this is an elephant, right? It's an elephant. But all of the different people who are looking at it from different angles might see it in different ways. So the guy in the back who's by the tail is like, oh, no, this is a rope. Or the person who's on top who can feel the ears flapping and say, oh, no, this is a fan. The person way down at the bottom by the legs of the elephant are saying it's a tree. This is also a really great place to practice your and. Yeah, it could be a wall and a rope and a snake. What do all those things put together make? Makes an elephant. So being able to help your teens to be able to check the facts can really change their emotional response. It's similar to mindfulness because it gives them an opportunity to think through their thoughts and beliefs about a situation and can really reduce impulsive acts on them because now they're thinking more mindfully. They're checking their perception of it. Their perception could be completely correct, but we want them to really think through it first and be able to not have this impulsive, just automatic thought that it's. Let's talk about how this skill would benefit your child. So it really provides an opportunity for them to be able to think critically about this emotion, to be able to help reduce the intensity of the emotion. Your child will be able to see the and instead of the but. It really reduces this kind of black and white thinking. It has to be this all or nothing. There's no in between, but it actually helps to be able to bring in that gray area. And this really reduces the likelihood that an emotion is going to get so big that it's overwhelming. Once again, like I said, emotions are good. They tell us things. They're signals to us. Where they become a concern is when we are so dysregulated that we can't make good decisions and that we're acting impulsively. So I just want to put that out there every single time that emotions aren't bad, they're good. And it's good for us to feel our emotions. But we just don't want them to get out of control. All right, a way to do this check the facts thing at home. And it's honestly just 3 steps to check the facts. I will say this is a good thing to teach our teens about ahead of time before we're dysregulated, right? Because think about it, right? Like I said, if we're completely dysregulated, our emotions are out the window, or excuse me, our ability to reason and logic is out the window. And so this is a really great thing to do when we start seeing that the emotions are coming up, maybe not necessarily when they're completely out of control. And once we really get good at this, we will see, oh, okay, our emotions are starting to not get so out of control and they won't spiral. So as you can see, there's 3 steps up top, and then we have some bonus questions that help to get even more to the deeper into the concern. So step 1, what is the emotion that I want to change? I'm feeling uncomfortable. What's going on for me? I'm feeling judged. I'm feeling upset that these people are talking about me or that they're laughing about me or whatever. What is this emotion I want to change? Again, mindfulness. You want to know what that emotion is. Second, what's the event that's making me feel this way? So it's about people who are laughing, people who are maybe talking about me, or people who are being loud or whispering or something like that. And then step 3 is, am I interpreting the situation correctly? Being able to maybe find some of those alternatives. What could they be whispering about or laughing about? Maybe they could be talking about something that happened in school that day, and they just don't want the other people to know because they don't want to gossip, or they don't want to have everyone else at the restaurant to know their business or something like that. There's a million different reasons someone might be whispering and then laughing or something like that. Then we come to our bonus questions. I like this first one. Am I thinking in extremes? It's that but situation. Are there only 2? Is there a little bit of gray area in there? Is there a possibility for there to be both options? What is the likelihood that the worst thing could happen? So for teens, this is, I would argue all teens, not just our young ladies, but young men and non-binary teens as well. What is the likelihood of the worst that could happen? They will really get to the worst. They'll judge me. I'll be a social pariah, right? So like you kind of go through this of, okay, let's just talk about what the worst is going to happen. What's the likelihood? Okay, the likelihood that they'll like come over to the table and say something super offensive to you, like that probably won't happen. And if they do, how are we going to react, right? So we want to talk about that. And how often does that actually happen to you where this happens or whatnot? And then, like I said, even when the worst is to happen, can I imagine coping well with it? So we don't want to completely dismiss the idea that the worst could happen, because you're right, the worst could happen. And it would be very invalidating to say, oh, that's ridiculous, that's rubbish, that will never happen to you, right? Because we want to listen when our teens are having concerns and voicing a concern for you or to you, because the more you listen and understand, the more they're going to talk to you. I'll be honest. So yes, if that worst does happen, can you imagine yourself coping well with it? No, you can't. Okay, so let's see what we can do. So it's kind of planning for the worst that can happen. All right, and our last skill, interpersonal effectiveness. This is, probably going to say it 3 or 4 times. This is one of my other favorite skills, right? This is one of my other favorite things, because there are so many great things in dialectical behavioral therapy. So I've been a clinician for a long time, and teens and parents often voice the exact same concern to me independently. On the teen side, it's they never listen to me. So talking about my parents don't listen to me. They don't, listen to my problems. They don't listen to my concerns. And then on the other side, parents say they never talk to me. My teen doesn't tell me what's going on. My teen doesn't talk to me. They don't want to. They have no interest. Interpersonal effectiveness and all of the skills that come along with that really help your teen to communicate their needs, to get their goals more effectively, and it really increases their chances to come to you when they need something, to voice their concerns, voice their opinions, all of those different types of things. How many times has your teen ever come up to you and been like, I deserve to go out because you never let me go out, so I deserve to go out tonight, right? And you're probably going to be really tempted to say no, not because you don't think that they should be able to go out, but because they came at you with such disrespect initially. I know I'm definitely guilty of that as a parent, when it's, you better give me some chocolate, or you better give me this, or something like that. And I'm like, I will not be giving you that. If you would ask me nicely, the answer would have been yes, but right now, no way. And so if you obviously, it then turns into this huge fight, this really thing. It spiraled out of control over this really simple thing that honestly, you would have probably said no to in the first place if it had been asked in a way that you could have better heard. So interpersonal effectiveness skills, with these skills, your teen can learn how to better communicate with you about this. So this is a very classic interpersonal effectiveness skill that we teach in DBT and teach our students. It's one of the very most important ones when it comes to interpersonal effectiveness, because it's a way of being able to ask for what you want in a really positive way. So we call them the dear man skills, and they're extremely beneficial skills to help teach our teens and help teach them how to effectively communicate their needs, and also in a way that they can better hear, that other people can better hear what they want. So I will go over all of these more, but I wanted to make sure I talked about the benefits of it first. So this benefits your child because of calm assertiveness. So they're assertive with what they want, but they're doing it in a very calm way, which of course you as a parent and other people are going to be able to hear a lot better. Some parents ask me, they go, why would I teach my kid a better way to argue with me? And I totally understand that concern, that initial concern. But in actuality, we're not teaching them how to argue. I hate to break it to you, but they're already pretty good at that. They're all pretty good at arguing. Actually, what we're doing is we're teaching them to organize their thoughts. We're teaching them to come from a place of wise mind and emotional regulation to be able to better communicate what they need. And in some situations, be able to better communicate what they don't want, or to be able to say no, because isn't that what we want for especially our young ladies, is to be able to say no when they don't want to do something or when something makes them feel uncomfortable. With these dear man skills, they can be more successful in getting what they want from the world if they use these skills effectively. We can already agree that in our world, our young ladies are at a disadvantage in a lot of different ways. And teaching them these skills will really give them the confidence to be able to ask for what they need and be able to ask for what they need in this calm assertiveness so that it can be best heard. So let's try this at home. So we're going to teach our teens, and really anyone can benefit from these, let's all be honest, these dear man skills. So you can practice this at home. Encourage, even young children can do this. If you teach them the skills, you might have to take out a few, so that they can remember them all. But the first one is describe your current situation. Describe what it is that's going on for you. Express your feelings and your opinions about the situation. A is asserting yourself by asking for what you want or saying no clearly. And then reinforce or reward the other person ahead of time by explaining the consequences. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The man part is be mindful. So stay mindful and keep your focus on your objective. A, appear confident, stand up straight, say this is what I would like or this is what I don't want, and without wavering. And then also, not just without wavering, but also being willing to negotiate, because as we know, parents are not going to always give you exactly what you want. So there does need to be a little bit of room for negotiation. Be confident, but no, you might not get exactly what you want. Right? That's what we always teach when it comes to different things like salary negotiation or negotiating for different benefits, whatever it is being confident and knowing you might have to compromise. So being able to and being willing to give to get and to get an alternate solution. So, okay, you can't do this and you can do this. So the biggest part as a parent when you're teaching your teen to use these skills is as the parent being supportive. This does not mean you have to give your teen what they want. This is a way for them to be able to learn these skills for really anything that they want that's goal oriented, anything that they need or don't want or something like that. However, what I will say is if your teen uses these skills and they use them effectively, try as hard as you can to reinforce it, even if it's something that you might typically say no to. That's a little bit hard for us as parents, right? We really oftentimes are like, well, no is no, right? But at the same time, or this is something that we don't typically do, or we don't typically allow. But if our teen comes at us and is able to ask for something using these skills and in a very calm and assertive way, we want to reinforce not the actual activity that they're asking to do or whatever it is they want to be able to do, but we want to reinforce the beautiful ability to ask for it in this goal-oriented way. If it's a hard no, you're like, no, that's just absolutely not something I'm comfortable with. No, you cannot go to Cedar Point with all of your under 18 friends for the entire day or something like that. Like that's just kind of a hard no. Then maybe we have some kind of middle ground. Can an adult go with you? They don't have to stay with you the whole time, but is there a way for an adult to go? Can I come with you and I won't even come into the park? I'll hang out, but I'll be in the city because Cedarburg's a long way away. We don't necessarily want our teen in a different city from us for a significant amount of time. It makes us nervous, right? So being able to find that middle ground, because if we say no when they use these skills, we're not reinforcing the skill that we want them to use. So yeah, this is a fabulous way to get your teens to be able to ask for what they need in that calm, assertive way. So with that being said, those are all of our wonderful DBT skills that you guys can use to help reinforce emotional regulations with your teens. And like I said, all teens, doesn't just have to be our young ladies, but everybody and the other children in your home as well. And remember that what we want to do is build a life worth living, both for our children, for ourselves. And these are a lot of skills that can possibly do that. Just wanted to make sure I put up the references right there in the book that we use. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you working with us today and coming and listening and finding ways to be able to build that life worth living with your teenagers.
So informative. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've already been thinking about the and, that power of the word and it really does. It changes the conversation. So thank you for sharing. Hey, I know our time is just about running out. There were a couple of comments in the chat, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I know that for many of our families who recognize that their young person does need kind of that next level of assistance, really, one of the challenges in our community right now is finding the space, the appointments to be able to meet with a clinician. Can you just talk a little bit about just, again, that's not an issue that we could solve here in the next few minutes, but really just to kind of think what they could think about doing as they try to identify supports throughout our community?
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Right now, it is very difficult. Wait lists are very long. Finding supportive services can be really difficult. What I often encourage families to do is go to the school first. You would be amazed at how chock full of resources and information either your school counselor or your school social worker is going to be. And if they don't have the resource right there at the top of their head, they can definitely find it for you very quickly. Columbus City Schools is partnered with so many amazing agencies across the entire district in different areas and different schools at different levels with all different layers of support as well. So maybe just like some preventative services all the way up until our kids who need individual services and really intensive services as well. So I think that would be my suggestion as a first stop shop, is being able to go reach out to the school because those school social workers and counselors have some always great resources out there. In terms of Buckeye Ranch and what we have available to us, we have something called our same day access program. And so if you feel like in this moment, we really need some help right now, we need to be assessed, not necessarily we need to go to the hospital, right? So I always suggest go to Nationwide Children's Hospital if they're having suicidal ideations or self-harm, homicidal ideations, those kinds of things. Take them straight to the hospital. Because honestly, if you come to us to our same day access program, we're going to send you to the hospital anyway. So you might as well go there first. But if it's a situation where, let's say, things have gotten really bad, we're just reaching a level of aggression in the home that we just can't handle anymore. We're so emotionally dysregulated that we're just like crying constantly, and we can't seem to get ourselves regulated really at any point. You can come to our same day access program, and there can be a clinician there who will assess you right then and there and be able to provide you with those resources that and put you either at Buckeye Ranch, get you connected with our services there, or possibly if we don't have a service that would be appropriate for your level of care, we would of course refer out as well. And you can find information about our same day access program on our website, but Mr. Varner, if you would like me to, I can also send you that information as well. So if there's a way for parents to be able to access that too, that would be fine. I could absolutely give that to you as well.
That's perfect. Thank you. I think you said it best, that we know this is a challenge that so many of our families are facing, and just at so many different levels. And we really have, as a district, tried to work with all of the community partners out there who are supportive. And really the tips, the tools, the strategies are there. And then, working with our partners when there are more severe cases and getting everyone the resources they need. So thank you for reminding us. I want to thank you, Ms. Anderson. Thank you for being here too. You are part of that school support team that really is making sure that in our schools, our students have the access to the resources that they need. So I appreciate both of you for what you do, but really appreciate the Buckeye Ranch for, as you said, being a longtime partner with Columbus City Schools. We're so proud to have you as part of that. Friends, the information that was shared tonight, I'll try to get that, and maybe we'll put it on our website so that we can share more of that too. So again, the more places we make resources available, hopefully everyone can get to them. Well, as we wrap up tonight, again, I want to thank our family ambassadors who are part of tonight's session. I know this is information that you'll be sharing to make sure that our families are aware of this information. And thank you to our bilingual engagement liaisons who have been sharing information. I know that there were a couple of questions in the chat that I'm glad they were able to help address too, so that we can make sure all of our families are a part of these conversations. That to us is what authentic engagement means. It means making sure that we're going to where parents and families are at, and all of the ways that we can engage and be supportive of our families, so that we are giving our young people every opportunity at success. All right, friends, again, all such great information is found on our Columbus City Schools website, including a recording of this session and all of our other sessions. You can also sign up for Thursday's session, which, remember, is the start of our summer opportunities and engagement series. Those opportunities for you to hear about some great summer, the summer experience in our buildings, but then also maybe some of the summer camps, some of the field trips, the fun that can be had for free across our city for our young people. It's hard to start thinking about summer, but I don't know about you, but I'm ready to think about summer. Again, thank you to our guests for being here tonight. Thank you to each of you for being all in and making sure that we're doing everything we can together to make sure that our families and our young people have every opportunity at success. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you.